Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you along on this Tuesday. I hope all is well for you as your week is getting off started to a good start, although it's going to be a warm one no matter what, pretty much where you are. Without question, it has gotten summer-like. But that's okay. It's summertime, right? We're not that far from July, so that's what happens. But hope everyone doing well. Appreciate you being with us, no matter where or how you're listening on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN The Ref. Always the right call down in Evansville or up in the region on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked where you got it. You don't need to go anywhere else. Appreciate you being with us and joining us. Mike DeCourcy will join us today. In addition to Jamie Shaw from On 3, we will talk some basketball recruiting, get caught up on who's doing what, when and where. You can also always go to thehoosier.com and get caught up on everything that is going on. Football, basketball, doesn't matter, as Indiana football continues to do a pretty good job on the recruiting side as they land a quarterback for the 2026 class, a California quarterback, by the way. They flipped him. He had originally was going elsewhere, but from San Diego, the Bishop's School quarterback, Cash Herrera. That sounds like a quarterback's name, right? Cash. You got a quarterback named Cash. You're doing okay. Cash Herrera recently decommitted from Iowa and is now committed to Indiana. Pretty good. That's a third flip that Indiana has managed in this recruiting cycle, by the way. They flipped the wide receiver from Illinois to Indiana, flipped the edge rusher from Louisville to Indiana, and of course now you're flipping an Iowa kid, or an Iowa commit, rather. After a visit to Bloomington over the weekend, he is excited about his future as a Hoosier. Just learning about Coach Sig and their winning culture they are building showed me a lot on the visit, Herrera told On 3. Learning about the offense in a school was big too, meeting the coaches and players and playing mini golf at Coach Sig's house were other highlights. So, but that story and much, much more as you can go to thehoosier.com to find out more about what's going on. And there is plenty, as Indiana is really doing a tremendous job on the recruiting side, on the football side right now, as they continue to build this 2026 class and kind of hitting all of the spots. And now this is probably the only quarterback that Indiana will bring in that class. Not a bad quarterback room at all, Brian, for the future. No, they're recruiting is going to be something that this staff is on top of. You can tell they are going at it. They're filling their 2026 needs, but they're going beyond that. You've heard me talk about the 27 and even 28 kids. Same with basketball. I know that over the weekend, Darren DeVries and staff were looking at Noah Washington from Waboney, kid in the 2028 class, the best in that class. So they're doing their due diligence as well. So, yeah, gym bag of cash and a tractor for dad. Yeah, well, you don't have to do that stuff anymore. That's easy. You can just drop the cash off. But, yeah. Terhune Tiger says, I'm guessing he got some cash to flip to IU. Well, I mean, they're all getting cash. They're all being paid. But let's be honest. Ask yourself, if you were a quarterback, what offense would you rather go play in? Kurt Cignetti's offense that you saw last year in which the quarterback threw for over 3,000 yards? Or Iowa's, where you hand the ball off and you hand the ball off? So this is not a surprise to me. This is a solid quarterback out of Southern California. So flipping him from Iowa, I don't know how I'm not saying it's not a big deal. Anytime you flip a kid from a major school, it's a deal. But it's not like they flipped him from USC, which is also offensively minded. Iowa's not exactly a haven for quarterbacks. I mean, Iowa's not quarterback you, I guess is my point. And I'm not saying Indiana is, but they are certainly more aligned that way with their offense, with the offensive style under Kurt Cignetti and Mike Shanahan. It's going to be, and I think it's going to be an even more explosive offense this year. I think they're going to have more weapons, better weapons with the quarterback, in addition to the wide receivers that are back, in addition to the running backs that have been brought in addition to an upgraded offensive line. I think you're going to see a better offense this year out of Indiana than you did previously. And it was a pretty damn good one last year, because all we did was watch them at the top of the standings. So it's going to be enjoyable watching Indiana continue to compete. Now, the rev share that is coming, we'll talk about this with Mike DeCourcy when he joins us. But I saw yesterday the University of Louisville with rev share coming, and they have put their budget out. They're facing a $12.5 million shortfall in their athletics budget. And Louisville is a school that makes money. So I'm thinking, how many schools are there that are going to be that are not as successful? Louisville has a pretty successful athletics program. Football team's pretty good. Basketball team's pretty good. Baseball team's pretty good. Women's basketball team's pretty good. They're a decent athletics program. And they're facing a $12.5 million shortfall. And I not that it's not going to be there. They'll find it. They'll find the money. But I wonder how many other smaller schools is this going to impact? Now, Indiana's not going to be one of those because they belong to the Big Ten. That's part of Louisville being a part of a conference that doesn't make the type of money that Indiana does in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is heads and shoulders above. The University of Louisville now is facing a budget shortfall of $48 million, despite receiving $12.8 million in direct support for its athletic department. They still have a projected deficit of $16.9 million. Well, this much has changed from what I read yesterday. The operating budget recommendations have been presented to the Board of Trustees. So we'll talk about that. That's going to affect things. But I'm not sure. They will find the money. You have to. You have to be able to compete. Caleb says, I need to say a hotty toddy. There you go, hotty toddy. Yeah, I've got my Ole Miss dad shirt on. My daughter, of course, an Ole Miss grad. So absolutely hotty toddy. No reason for hotty toddy. They didn't do anything in baseball. How about, speaking of baseball, college baseball, LSU from the SEC gets that championship tucked away after they knock off Coastal Carolina 2-0 in the championship. Mike says, it looks like it's windy in the studio today. Trying to beat the heat. Yes, we've got the ceiling, the fans going. It's, the studio's on the second floor. And man, you want to talk about the difference in temperature between the first and second floor. I don't like it. Don't like it. But what are you going to do? Appreciate everybody being with us. K-Bro. Oh, miserable. Oh, mercy. Oh, mercy. How is K-Bro? We'll get K-Bro back on next week. You know what? We should start a segment. The travels of K-Bro in the summer. What's up with K-Bro? Where's K-Bro? Where's K-Bro today? Should do a weekly segment, K-Bro, on where you are or what you're doing. We could keep it short and say, well, what's K-Bro doing today? You'd have to put the background up. Yeah, you can see the wind going. I have a lily from when my mother passed, and dang near killed the daggone thing. But so I had dug it out yesterday and replanted all that. So hopefully that thing will come back and just sprout to life. K-Bro is cranky because the Mets are losing. You know what? Speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to pull up the Major League Baseball standings just to see where everybody is. Speaking of which, but we'll go straight to the Mets. They're only a game and a half back, K-Bro. I mean, come on. Not a lot to complain about there. But I understand your frustration. Wow, the Mets have gone 1-9 in their last 10 games. They're one of only 2 teams in all of Major League Baseball to do that, along with the Minnesota Twins. Holy smokes, bro. Meanwhile, while the Mets are going 1-9, the Phillies are going 8-2. Woo! That's 2 different directions. Yeah, I understand that frustration. You look over at the Central Division, not much movement. Chicago, Mendoza line, 5-5 over their last 10 games. The Milwaukee Brewers have picked up a couple games going 7-2. St. Louis have gone 7-3. And, of course, the Reds 6-4. So they pick up a game. But it's not bad there in the Central Division. You have, except for Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Cincinnati, all within 5.5 games. So you got that going for us, which is nice. The Dodgers, of course, leading out in the West. Our good friend Kyle Nedrip, his Detroit Tigers are rolling in the American League Central. The New York Yankees leading the American League East, but the Cincinnati Reds took care of them yesterday. Go Reds. Hey, we've got plenty more coming up. Got to take our first break. Mike DeCourcy joined us on the other side. Unfortunately, his Pittsburgh Pirates are, if we're talking baseball, they're waiting for next year. They're waiting for next year. But back with plenty more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this great Tuesday. Back with it right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. Glad to have you. Hope you're inside where it's cool. Mike DeCourcy looks like he's a calm, cool cat today. I hope it's hot over in Pittsburgh as it is over here.
Oh, it's pretty baking there, Jim. It's quite a steamy affair all the way across the eastern United States, from my understanding. And so most of my activity for the next few days is going to be done indoors, no doubt.
Without question, no doubt. You just walk outside and it's like somebody taking a hot rag and just slapping you right in the face. And it's like, wow, that's all I need, man. I'm done. Whew. But plenty going on. Gabriel was commenting earlier. Oh my, yeah, his Mets, they're stinking it up. Where they've gone 1-9 over their last 10. Meanwhile, who did I just say was in front of them had gone like 8-2. Yeah, man, they must have been in the lead by, I don't know, 3-4 games, and over the last 10 games have coughed that up. You don't usually see that during the season, especially a team that's that good.
Right. You don't usually see teams that are at the top of the standings go on that kind of losing streak. Maybe 5-5, 4-6.
Yeah.
Maybe, but to lose 9-10 from first in your division is pretty unusual, unless it's April 12th or something.
Then you got the Reds beating the Yankees right now. So what in the world is going on? What in the wide world of sports is happening?
Well, I wouldn't get too excited about that yet because
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. What are you talking about?
It was good. But they went to St. Louis with an important series over the weekend and didn't get it done. Got taken 2 out of 3, and that they went from second to fourth in like a night. It was amazing to see. They've got to win those big series against the division rivals, the Cubs and the Cards and the Brewers, if they want to have a chance at being involved in this.
Yeah, because whenever Eli De La Cruz's contract is up, all I wonder is where will he play for, in Los Angeles or in New York? Because we know that's where he'll be heading.
Well, that's the problem with baseball, Jim, that they refuse to acknowledge and refuse to address.
Yes.
And every other sport has acknowledged and addressed it, and including the NBA, which for years was in a similar situation. They had a salary cap that, because of the bird rights, was not a cap, and because of the bird rights, made it so that super teams could be built and maintained. And that's not the case now. We've had our 7th, I think, different champion, or 6th different champion in the last 6 or 7 years. We every year since 2019 has had a different champion, and that's because it's competitive now. It wasn't competitive. There was a thing over the weekend. There's a very often funny account, Super 70 Sports, on Twitter. That talked about, it was on the day of the Game 7, about how much better the NBA was in the 80s because Magic and Bird played. And it's like, yeah, every year the same one of those two teams won. 8 out of 10 years in the 80s, it was one of those two teams. I just don't find that interesting.
And then it just switched to Detroit and Chicago.
Well, Detroit won 2 in a row, and then Chicago with Michael had the dominance. And at least I'll give Chicago credit for this. At least they did rebuild the team. I mean, they did change. It was Scotty and Michael the whole time, but they built a different team around him for the second run. You got Michael Jordan in his prime, and he's going to be involved in it. I mean, he was that great. Just as LeBron made 8 consecutive finals, he was going to be involved in it. Michael, during that 90s run, was going to be involved in it because he was that great, as long as they put a quality team around him, and Jerry Krause did that. But right now, you don't have players that are quite at that level. I mean, LeBron is still playing, but he's not where he was in the 2010 to 2018 era, when he was really at his peak. He's not there now. He's over 40 years old. So he's still a factor, but he's got to have a better team around him to be involved at the level that we just saw. I think the NBA is so much more interesting now, Jim, than it was in the 80s. So much more interesting now than it was in the 90s. And
perfect example, Mike, is we just watched an NBA Finals with Oklahoma City and Indiana, two mid-market teams, and that will never happen in baseball. Although Kansas City made it a few years ago, but
they won one, and good for them. But their window was very brief. They went from first to worst in about 2 years. So if you get a team together like the Reds did in 2012, and they were cursed by injury to Johnny Cueto, they might have won it that year if that hadn't happened. Or the Pirates a few years later, when they won 96 games but made no additions. When they were in position to do something, made no additions. That's the difference between the Royals, what they did a year later, I think it was 2016 or 17. What the Royals did when they won it was they got that team together, and they said, okay, we got to go for it now because we're not going to be here in 3 years. And they did. They brought Cueto in. Cueto was a big factor for them. They probably made some other trades I'm not familiar with, and they won it. That's what you have to do in baseball now. You have to get a good young group that you have together, and if you're in position, then you maybe can make a run. But it's harder to do even now than it was 10 years ago, Jim, because the money in LA and New York has even grown more. There's even more of a disparity now than there was 10 years ago. And so the sport is not, it's not only not evening out, the gap is growing. And baseball refuses to acknowledge that. The people who cover baseball, which is disappointing to me, refuse to acknowledge that. They everything's fine. It's all good. Look, everything's fine. Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain, so to speak. They don't acknowledge the problem. The only place that it's acknowledged is in particular markets. Pittsburgh here, Cincinnati, a few other places where the people are the journalists in town are willing to stand up and say, this is wrong. This is bad for the sport. This is not what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be everybody's a farm team for the for the Dodgers, Yankees, and Mets. It's supposed to be a competition, and it's not that.
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, you've got teams in major markets like the Chicago White Sox who are also not, but they're not making an effort to be a championship winning team, and they're in the third largest market in the United States.
Yes. Well, but that's see, what I've always said is that money doesn't guarantee that you'll have it, that you'll be competitive. You have to spend it wisely. You have to be smart. You can't just be rich. You have to be smart. But if you don't have money, then you don't have a chance. That's the difference. I mean, if the White Sox choose to be this poor, that's a choice. If the Cubs choose to be what they have been over the near decade since 2016, that's really a choice. They have the money to be better. They just don't spend it wisely, or don't spend it, whichever they do. It's up to them. But the Yankees and the Dodgers have so much more money than everybody else. In a lot of ways, and this may or may not be true now, but a couple of years ago, I looked it up, and the Dodgers were underspending the amount of television money that they got in. Like they were making, let's say, $300 million. This is an estimate now. $300 million in annual local television revenue. And then they'd had like a $230 million payroll. It was still way ahead of anybody else's payroll, but it was under the amount of money they were bringing in. Meanwhile, the Pirates were being ripped and criticized for bringing in about $45 or $50 million in local television revenue and spending about $35 or $40 million on the team. Which is underspending more, Jim? It was the Dodgers that were underspending more. Well, now the new ownership has said, no, we're just going to spend whatever. And that has even shaken up some of the bigger market teams, what the Dodgers have been able and willing to do in the free agent market, and the trade market. They've been able to do whatever they please. And again, some of that is their wealth in terms of not the ownership wealth, but the income that they bring in with local revenue being not shared equally. And also the willingness of Shohei to take that ridiculous deferred contract that he doesn't even take the amount of money that he could in making what he makes. He makes like $70 million a year or whatever, and takes like 14 or something, and the rest is all deferred down the road. That's another thing that shouldn't even be allowed in baseball, but they don't care about the competition. They have no interest in having a legitimate competition in Major League Baseball. It's one of the reasons why, of all the sports, I pay less attention to that to baseball than any other, because they have said, look, I lived in Cincinnati and follow the Reds. I live in Pittsburgh. The Pirates are right down the road, and neither of them has any chance at all. So if they don't care about me,
which is crazy, because both of these franchises used to be two of the premier franchises in all of Major League Baseball.
When I was growing up, Pirates won in 71 and 79. Reds won 75, 76 with maybe the greatest team, certainly of my lifetime. So that's 4 out of 10 years. And from two, and of course, the Orioles in that period, I believe, won in 70 and played the Pirates in 71, 79, another market that's not enormous. Baltimore, the Dodgers won and the Yankees won in that period, but it showed that you could have a real competition, as is the case in the NFL now. And goodness, thankfully, it's the case in the NBA now. I didn't think I'd ever see this, Jim, but it's great that we could. I saw complaints about Oklahoma City versus Indiana. I don't understand those complaints. That's what it should be. I'm not saying it should always be those two, but I'm saying they should have a chance. If the Lakers are the best team, good. But it shouldn't be because the Lakers are the richest team. It should be because they drafted smart and they traded smart and developed great and coached them well. That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's what's happening now in Oklahoma City and in Indianapolis. It's also happening in New York. They did some really smart things and some good drafting. Then, of course, they panicked and fired their coach, but they built a really nice team there that could have been in the NBA Finals. They did. The Knicks were very close. The Pacers were better. But there you have it. The 40th market or so, or 35th or whatever Indians is now, against the 1 market. And it was a fair fight. And the smaller market prevailed because they played better basketball.
Yeah, without question. And that hopefully we'll look forward to a fun summer regardless. A fun summer that's not going to be had is for Indiana Pacer fans, as it was announced that Tyrese Halliburton had indeed suffered a torn Achilles tendon. Not only is he going to be out for an extended period of time, most likely going to miss all of next season. And now, wow, you are going from one of the highlights of your franchise to one of the lowlights right now going into the season, knowing you're not going to have your guy, your Larry Bird.
Yeah, it's hard to express how sad that is. As he was making that move, it's funny because when he passed up the shot to make the move, I didn't want him to pass up the shot, and I keep thinking, what if he had listened to me, so to speak, and just taken the shot? Would it have happened in another period in the game? Maybe not. Who knows? But it's just awful for them to have to go through that now when they had built such a terrific team and such a connected team, and a team that was really close to winning it all. That, I mean, we'll never know, just as we won't ever know what Cincinnati would have been in the 2000 NCAA tournament with Kenyon Martin. This is the closest thing I've seen to that. And it's somewhat similar in that was Kenyon's last game when he broke his leg against St. Louis in the 2000 Conference USA tournament. And so you knew, like, you weren't getting that shot again. DeMar Johnson was going pro. Kenyon was going pro. Jermaine Tate was a senior. And so that shot was a one-shot deal. And it's kind of similar to the Pacers now, because we know that Tyrese is almost certainly not going to play next season. And so what do the Pacers do with Miles Turner? What do the Pacers do? Do they sort of try to keep the pieces in place, or most of the pieces in place, for when Tyrese comes back? There's just so many questions now that are there that weren't there before he passed up that shot and made the move to drive. And it's like I said, you just don't see that sort of thing very often in sports. And when it happens, there's no plan B for this. I don't know what Kevin Pritchard and the Pacers, I don't know what the prudent thing to do is. You certainly don't blow it up and start and say, well, that's it, this was our shot, because you have very young players still. Neesmith isn't an old player. You look at Nembhard, he's still a young player. You've got Siakam at the prime of his career. It's not like it needs to be completely revamped now, but it certainly is impacted by the fact that they're unlikely to be highly competitive in this next season. They just don't have another Tyrese, as you saw in the 38 minutes or whatever that were played without him. It's just he impacts the game so profoundly that Andrew Nembhard is your new point guard. I don't know how you become a truly great team in that circumstance.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and it's a position the Pacers have found themselves, and I don't mean to laugh, over and over. They're obviously not going to be as competitive, like you said, but they're not going to be horrible. So they're not going to, quote unquote, tank to get a better draft pick next year, when they don't even really have one this year in the first round. They do have a first round draft pick next year, but we'll see how that works out. It's just not good news for the Pacers. But hey,
yeah, the draft thing is a little bit overrated though, Jim, because at the level that the Pacers are right now, and this is reflected in the fact they traded their 25 pick away, there are very few rookies that are going to change your team or make an impact. It's really rare. If you're getting Cooper Flagg, okay, maybe it happens. But with as developed and mature as this team is, it's highly unlikely that they get a rookie that can.
You got to be in the top
that
5
rotation.
probably to get someone who is going to impact like you're talking about, because there aren't that many Cooper Flags. That it drops quickly from not.
Or you have to get really lucky. Or you have to get really lucky and find a guy who fits what you do and who is really mature.
Oklahoma City did that with I can't think of
Jalen Williams.
12th pick a few years ago. So Chet Holmgren, I mean, they're young. They are young, which was crazy to do as well as they did. They were probably the youngest team ever to win an NBA championship.
I believe that's accurate. Yes.
Without question. Hey, plenty more coming up. Louisville, in this era of the house settlement and all of that, Louisville athletics is finding itself at a deficit in athletics next year. We'll talk about that when we come back. A $12.5 million deficit, I believe, that Louisville is looking at potentially next year in their athletics department. So we'll talk about that and how the house settlement is impacting, because if it's happening to a school like Louisville, who is pretty successful in a lot of endeavors, what is that doing to other programs who are not quite as successful? Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox and Big Ten Networks with us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. I hope you are staying inside, because there ain't nothing good outside, baby. It is hot. And I mean hot. It got there in a hurry. Before we talk about Louisville, how about the Pac-12, baby? They're hanging on as the Pac-12, new look Pac-12 announces a TV deal with CBS, but they're still needing an 8th member for football, because Gonzaga is one of those schools and they do not play football. But boy, this is not your grandpa's Pac-12.
That's for sure. It's not, I guess technically it's not my Pac-12, Jim, because I was around for
it's not even your older brother's Pac-12.
Yes, things have changed a lot there. It's the Mountain West in a different clothing, which I had always thought that the Pac-12 and Mountain West should come to a sort of just go ahead and join together, and they chose not to do that. The Mountain West fought for its survival. It's their prerogative. And so both conferences.
And what's the point? There's no way they have the strength that they could have by joining with the Pac-12, I wouldn't think, from name and all kinds of other positives.
Well, I think the point is that first of all, if I work in the Pac-12 or in the Mountain West, I don't want to go away. That's my job. So I think that was part of the impetus. And I would imagine that there were certain things that those who remained in the Mountain West preferred relative to structure or circumstance, whatever it might be, they liked where they were and they decided to stay. They do need another football team, and Memphis is one that has been mentioned a lot lately. It would sort of dislodge their
Memphis. Did you say Memphis?
I said Memphis, yes.
Why don't they just go get Edinburgh from Scotland or something? I mean, gee,
how can you be talking to me about geography, Jim, when the Atlantic Coast Conference decided to add Stanford and Cal?
I know, but it's just at least those were a bigger conference. This is small. It's like, wow, how cost from a cost standpoint, you're thinking, okay, these networks or these conferences don't have the big TV deals, so the travel is going to be more.
Well, no, this would just be for football, Jim. This would just be for football.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying, is that if Memphis were to join the Pac-12 for football, they would have to find a home for their other programs. They've wanted to be in the Big East. I don't know whether the Big East is amenable to that. And if
they don't have football, so why not?
Well, I mean, I think that it's a question of whether the Big East feels like that it would be a net addition. I think it would. I think Memphis is the most underappreciated athletic program in America. When the ACC expanded, they should have added Memphis instead of Stanford or Cal. Memphis has a greater appeal in its market than either Stanford or Cal does. I think when I checked it out, I think both in the year before they went into the ACC, I think both Cal and Stanford averaged fewer than 3,000 fans for their basketball games, something like that. So that's what the ACC chose to add because of academic prestige or whatever. When they could have had a program in Memphis that's legit. I mean, their football program averages about what most ACC teams do, and their basketball program is highly competitive.
Happy birthday to Caton Fulton Mraz, our resident Special Olympian. So we'll celebrate that for you, my friend. Yeah, it's this change in college athletics. We're not done. As soon as we think we're done, when things have starting to settle in conference-wise, it's just still not done. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with football, college football. No doubt that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get their 4 automatic bids, which, like you, I hate to see it. But I also hate to see a team from, say, the Pac-12 get an automatic football bid into the CFP, because, boy, the likelihood of one of their teams being more deserving than even their champion being more deserving than several other teams, I can see that argument every year.
Well, Jim, as of now, I mean, there will be no protection for the Pac-12. They will be one of the other leagues competing for that 5th automatic bid. That'll be the 4, and then it'll be either the Pac-12 or the Mountain West or the MAC or whoever it might be in that given year. So I don't think you have a true champion unless you have some opportunity to be represented in that group. Like if you're a MAC team like Central Michigan back in the day, or Western Michigan back in the day when they went undefeated, like around 2015 or 2016. I mean, that team's got to be in a college football playoff if that happens. If Ohio U or someone like that puts together an undefeated season, that team has to be in it. But you don't have to have multiple representatives to prove that. You just have to have the road open for that level of program if they're good enough that they will get in. And that this current system automatically does that. Whoever the highest ranked champion from the group of 5 conferences is going to get in, and that's great. I don't think that you need more than that necessarily to have a legitimate championship. I think that they're in a good place. I think honestly, Jim, we're farther away from that 4 auto bid per structure than we were a month ago. We are. I mean,
I don't doubt it. I can't believe it with that Greg Sankey has allowed it to happen because I mean, the life just ends all. It will just die if the SEC does not get at least 4 to 8 guaranteed spots in the playoffs.
I think that we're farther away from that, at least for 2026, than we were before. Where it goes from there, I don't know. But
I didn't think it could happen for 20.
No, not for
2025. Yeah,
but for 26. That's what we were looking at.
Football's screwy. It always screws you up year-wise because it's actually in the year that you're talking about, as opposed to most are in the following year. But yeah,
you're excused, Jim. It's understandable.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now that they are making the change as far as the seating, which perfect.
Right.
I'm so happy to see that because in years past, something like this would have taken a decade and an act of Congress to change something so simple. They acted like, oh, well, God, no, we can't make that change for 18 more years. It's like, dude, make the change. It's for the betterment. So they did that. That'll be good because I've said it and I'll say it again. Last year was probably the greatest season of college football that I personally have ever recalled.
Yes, I agree.
And it was awesome. And I think it's going to be just as good this year because you've got so much equality now and so many teams now with the rev share. That's probably going to help a lot of programs out. Louisville, maybe not one of those. I mentioned that at the top of the segment. I read that yesterday that, they're facing a budget shortfall because of all of this. And Louisville is a program where they're not a top end. They're not, an Indiana, much less an Ohio State or a Penn State, but they're very successful athletics wise. They good basketball program, women's basketball program, baseball program, soccer program. They have good athletics programs, but they're not in a big time league. That they're in the league that's been fighting for more money from ESPN and all those. That's the difference, I guess.
Yeah, even some of the conferences in those other leagues, though, are having these same problems. It's a pretty sudden change at universities and institutions that usually don't deal with sudden change. And the change is it's the kind of change that if you were in a speedboat, it'd be pretty easy to maneuver. But you're in a Titanic, you're in a cruise ship that doesn't turn easily.
And that's you have to make it turn quickly.
Yes. And you're basically turning the thing 180 degrees in a cruise ship. And those things don't turn like that. A speedboat, you can just go ahead and whip it around and there you are, you're going the other direction. But you can't do that with one of those Carnival cruise lines. You can't do that. And so that's what you're dealing with at the high major level. They're getting a massive additional expense and they are not getting a massive additional revenue impact at any of those levels. And so they have to find a way to manage that. There are certain schools that have committed to long-term capital improvement projects. What do they do now? Do they just let those things rot, or do they finish the job and they take the hit? That's the choice in a lot of cases. We're halfway done with this facilities improvement project. Well, now you have to pay the athletes $20 million a year. Do you finish it? Of course. Well, in most cases, you're going to go ahead and finish it. You already spent X number of dollars to get it this far, but that means you're probably going into some sort of deficit situation in order to fund that extra $20 million. It's definitely a difficult challenge, but it's one the colleges kind of brought on themselves by not being more nimble in earlier periods, and also by spending absurdly, because I've never understood, Jim, the impetus by particular schools to not be embarrassed to lose their football coach or their basketball coach to another. That would be the worst thing that could happen. And I've seen really above average to average coaches locked up to significant long-term contracts out of the fear. Excuse me there.
Mick Cronin.
No, not him.
I was looking at his contract like 2 years ago. I remember this, and I was like, oh my God, they have him handcuffed. He can't go anywhere.
Right. But I'm talking about like schools that have average to above average coaches that they have locked into the next decade because they're so fearful that that coach might get another job somewhere, when in fact they're not that good that they would really be wanted to be poached. And so they're kind of stuck.
Tom Allen, Indiana football.
Well, that kind of thing has happened. Yeah. I mean, that's
that cost Indiana $15 million. And it should have been 20 million, but they negotiated it down to 15 because of exactly what
that's what I'm talking about, Jim. It's happened in way too many places. At Georgia, and I don't know what their situation is, but Georgia decided that it wasn't enough to pay Kirby Smart like $9 million a year, which was more than almost anybody. They had to pay him 13. Why? Because they could? Well, good luck now. It's your problem.
Where else is he going to go?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
It's not like this guy's coming from Delaware State. He's at Georgia. They just won a national championship. Where the hell is he going to go? He's in the SEC. He's not going anywhere else.
No, exactly. And that's what that happens way too often. And then they sit there and those athletic programs that do that, and then they complain about the situation when they have to share it with the athletes, when they've been making these sorts of decisions all along. To me, these are problems in large part of the schools making, the various schools, and that runs all the way up and down. It's not just the richest programs, it's programs that would be considered college athletics middle class. And so this is the price they're paying now for not seeing the future, and for not planning for it, and for making the sort of decisions that in many cases would not have been wise business choices.
What's up next for you, brother?
Well, I've got 2 draft pieces that I wrote that are up on our site now at sportingnews.com, on my Twitter page, about the NBA draft. The first one about Derek Queen and why I think he might be the most underrated prospect in the draft. And the second one that just popped today about Ace Bailey and how he's become this great mystery of the draft. And a lot of people now, because he has taken the step of not working out for teams, that all of a sudden people are starting to decide that he's not a good guy, when those who worked with him think he's a great guy, like the nicest kid that you could imagine. So it's sort of explains how these draft narratives can get out there, in some cases of their own creation. And it's an interesting conundrum for teams now. If they haven't had a chance to really interact with Ace at the level that they ordinarily do they pass a guy with his talent? And there have been questions about his talent as well, because his number one skill is making tough shots. Wasn't super useful at the college level all the time because you don't want him to take tough shots. But in the NBA, as Fran Fraschilla points out in the article, you're facing tough shot situations a lot of the times because of the 24-second clock. So that could be a skill that could make him really valuable. Very interesting situation. So that's up on at sportingnews.com now and at TSN Mike.
Mike has a certain set of skills that makes him quite valuable, and we appreciate you being with us each week, my friend. Make sure you are following Mike DeCourcy and the Sporting News, our nation's oldest sports publication. Can't say that enough, baby, because they're still here. Just like Mike.
Always a pleasure, Jim. And even though I just had a birthday, I'm still not the oldest sports journalist. I'm getting there, but I'm not yet.
Happy birthday. Well, we're out of time, but our buddy Rick Bozich just announced his retirement. I'm sure you saw.
Yes.
Man, I was not expecting that. That hurts.
Rick is awesome. Just great at what he does
for us. But
hopefully he has a great retirement plan, because he's earned it with one, being an absolutely awesome guy, and two, being as good a journalist as you could ask to read.
Absolutely. I'll look for, maybe I'll start mixing Rick in with other guests like you to have, I've always loved that, getting people together that don't always get together for things. So maybe we'll do some of that in the future.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you. Mike DeCourcy, make sure you give him a follow. Back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Jamie Shaw from On 3 joins us. A little later, we're talking college basketball recruiting once we return to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios on this Tuesday, and it's still hot out there, people, and don't expect that to change this week, as the 90s are going to be something we are staring at. And what are you going to do? It's that time of year. It wasn't like that we weren't going to get them, but an entire week of 90-degree weather as I look down through there today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. Then we get a little relief on Saturday, but it may come in the form of some little rain, back up to 90 on Sunday and close to it on Monday. But into each life, a little sun must rain down with 90-degree heat. So, hey, you can go to thehoosier.com right now and get caught up on everything with Indiana basketball, takeaways, standouts from the first June evaluation period. There is a video breakdown of Jason Gardner Jr. That is a recruit that I have to tell you, on the outside, Indiana's got no shot at this. I mean, I not just Indiana. I put Indiana in the same box with a lot of other people. Indiana may have a slight advantage over other people not named Arizona, because Jason Gardner Sr. played at Arizona and is an assistant coach at Arizona. So, you know, it's going to be, I'm going to be hard pressed to imagine that he doesn't go play for his dad. And I'll be frank, quite frankly, it would not be a great look if he couldn't land his son. But sometimes people want to forge their own path. And it'll be interesting. Darren DeVries is not going to, you got to give it to him that he's going to go after Jason Gardner Jr. The fact that all of these things are in impediments, not standing in their way. I mentioned last week at the team camps, I was standing about 2 feet away from Darren, but he was right under the basket, leaning up against the up against the what do you call it, the thing that holds it up, the goal that holds up the whole thing, but the whole time. And that's for one reason. That's to be seen. That's to be seen every time that they're coming down that way. So, and this is not the first time. We watched him during the state finals, and they are putting in their effort to recruit him, and he'd be a hell of a get. But I'm impressed with the effort that this staff is putting in to your basic recruiting. Old school, straight up old style recruiting. These high school kids. Even with the land of the portal now, it shows that your grassroots recruiting is still an important tool to Darren DeVries and his staff and his way of thinking. And I think for Indiana fans, that's a great thing. That means you're going to see more Indiana in-state players on the rosters going forward. Now, it's not going to be all that way, of course. But when you're talking about the best talent in Indiana each year, whether it's 1 or 3, they're going to be damn good players. Really good players. Top of the – look at last year. Trent Sisley, Braylon Mullins, Jalen Harrelson, to name a few. Mark Zachary. I mean, Desmond Briscoe. There's just, you can go on and on. Every year in Indiana, now the class is going to go up and down with how high it is, but always has Luke Ertl. You can go on and on. So it is important to be able to break what I call the Purdue line. Purdue it used to be Indiana. And then with Indiana's flux and change and constant change and the continuity of Purdue took that over. So I think that it's wise of Darren DeVries to say, you know what, we're going to retake this. Just like Kurt Cignetti is doing in football. Purdue had become the in-state school of choice for in-state players. I don't count Notre Dame. That's switching. Indiana has already made that switch in football. It helps when you get good and they stink. But Indiana is the football team of choice for in-state recruits right now. As far as if they're going to an in-state school, you're going to have those like Jeremy Finch who are going to Alabama. Gee whiz, I keep thinking about that defensive line. Was it Warren Central that they of the 4 down linemen, LSU, Alabama, Indiana, and Campbellsville or Campbellsburg. But think of that. That's one high school. Crazy. But yeah, it's the recruiting is going very well for both sides. Now, football, they're ahead of the game. They're a year ahead of the game. Not only do they have a year under their belt, they have a year of great success under their belt. So they're able to flip guys from Illinois to Indiana, flip guys from Louisville to Indiana, flip guys from Iowa to Indiana, as they've done in this recruiting cycle alone. It's pretty good for, what are we talking about, 12 recruits right now or so, thereabouts, 11, 12? Well, a fourth of those have been flips. That's what bigger programs do. Now, when they start flipping the bigger ones, and it will get to that. Going to be it's just you can sense, at least I can sense, when things are going well. Just like in basketball, it did not take long under Lil Rhodey. You're like, this is not going well. This is not. I mean, I'm talking about a whole bunch of little things behind the scenes and all kinds of stuff. Same with Mike Woodson. You quick. Well, if you're in, close enough, you would like, nope, that's not a good look. Indiana football right now, they're on an upward trajectory. Indiana basketball, even though this season is not I don't expect this season to be what Indiana football was last year, of course. Still on an upward trajectory by how they are attacking, how the staff is getting out and recruiting, how they're getting out recruiting for next year, and the reception they're getting. It's going to take it's going to take a season for the basketball program. I really believe that. I think that they'll be competitive this year. I don't know how competitive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to, that is going to be a wait and see deal to see how they handle the rest of the Big Ten, because we don't know how the Big Ten is even going to look like to a degree. I mean, I know what Illinois has, but what are those 5 foreign Eastern European players? How's that going to come together? Michigan, I keep talking about Michigan, buddy. They added some pieces. Whoo. Purdue is everybody's favorite, but not mine. And remember this, Michigan. I'm telling you, Michigan is the team to look out for in the Big Ten this year. Michigan State, very quiet. Don't know what's going on there. We've seen Xavier Booker leave there, the former Indiana kid. He's at UCLA. What's UCLA going to be like? So Maryland, I think they're in trouble. Boy, lost a coach, they just lost a lot. So this could be a bad year for Maryland sports, period. Maryland football, Indiana gained some players from there. So all kinds of things going on. The Truth, Robert the Truth Carter jumping on the hotline. 5 says, we'll know tomorrow how effective the recruiting has been. What's tomorrow? What am I missing? Is there an announcement coming tomorrow of something that I am not aware of? Throw that up there. Dalen Gardner coming out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Good day. Man, I love having people from all over, even though we're here in Little O, Indiana. But yeah, I love our listeners from Louisiana and Las Vegas and Amman, Jordan, and Florida, and all around. Of course, most of you are from the great state of Indiana, but we've got them from all over. Brian says Michigan lost their killers, though. Golden graduated and whooped to the NBA. Yeah, but they picked up some players. They picked up a great one in from Montez. Was it Montez Johnson? What's his last name? From Illinois. I really liked him. He was a freshman. He got hurt toward the end of the year, and that hurt Illinois. And that really hurt Illinois to lose him. I wonder why. Illinois has lost players in the last couple of years, and I wonder why. The good ones. You know, Indiana, per se, when they've had guys transfer out, it's guys that I don't know, that there wasn't, you didn't feel that loss, although Tamar Bates, could he have grown into a better role? But when you go back over a time with a staff that wasn't successful, you answer a lot of questions already. You don't have to go too deep. When the staff is not successful in a myriad of ways, and the previous staff was not successful, they weren't successful in recruiting. They weren't successful in running an offense. They weren't successful in just, it was just like playing to survive, and playing to survive with better talent than that. They had better talent than just playing to survive. So, Sammy Jackson making his decision already? Wow, he was just at Indiana. I didn't realize he's making his decision as quickly. Is that accurate? I mean, there's so much stuff to read in the Hoosier.com. Literally, in the last couple of hours, there's already been like 4 stories come out. You got the video recap of Jason Gardner Jr. standouts from the first June evaluation period, which we'll talk about that with Jamie Shaw recruiting analyst for On3, who joins us a couple times a month. Looking forward to that. Indiana also on the football side. 2028 offensive lineman Matthew Bernard discusses his recent visit to the Indiana camp. That's another thing. Indiana, Kurt Signetti and crew, using these camps to identify talent and then stay after them. Yesterday, I think it was a kid from Ohio that we were talking about that he's a sophomore. But they've identified this talent and they are actively recruiting him now, and they will be. Now, there's that guarantee anything? Nope. Because just because you notice somebody, you've got 3 years left, and if they're good, they'll be noticed by others as well. Brian says Elliot Cadeau from North Carolina to Michigan. Not sure who that is. Robert says football recruit announcing on Wednesday. Yeah, well, what recruit is that? Rudy says Sammy Jackson plans to announce his college decision on Wednesday, June 25. Well, that's tomorrow, people. So, yeah, there you go, Rudy. Thank you. That will be, and I'm sure, and I know the guys at thehoosier.com are working on that. That's a big one, too. That's a big recruit. That would be the first big recruit that I would say they've really landed as far as recruit. It's hard to discount Alexa, was it Rizvik, the Serbian kid. Don't know much about him, so he may be a bigger land than we're giving it credit for. But since this is in the good old US of A, and Sammy Jackson is someone that others are going after, it will be interesting to see how that winds up. Can Darren DeVries get that first recruitment to follow? Hey, let's take a break. Up next, our good friend Jamie Shaw, recruiting analyst for On3, will join us. We'll talk about Sammy Jackson and much more. Coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, back with more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along, no matter where, how you're listening, and happy to have our good friend Jamie Shaw, college basketball recruiting analyst, 4 on 3. How are you, my brother?
Jim, man, I'm good. I hope that you are.
If I was any better, I'd be Jamie Shaw, as long as you're inside the air conditioning.
Oh, man, it is hot down here. I think we're going to touch triple digits heat index for pretty much the whole week.
Where are you?
I'm in the Carolinas.
Oh, yeah, but you've got the ocean nearby, bro.
Well, I mean, that's the fortunate part about where I live in Raleigh is you go east, you got the ocean within 2 hours. You go west, you got
I was going to say, what is it, like 2 hours away?
Yeah, 2 hours both ways for the mountains or the ocean.
I actually didn't know that's where you were. My family lives outside of the Charlotte area.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Great area.
Yeah, he heads over to the Outer Banks a lot. I have never been over there.
Outer Banks is fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So we go up to Kill Devil Hills when we go, and it's a wonderful time. Very, very slow pace of life.
How did the major basketball events end up down where they are, down in outside of the world headquarters of golf there, West Augusta or whatever?
Yeah, I think one of the guys that started was Merle Code, and Merle Code's from South Carolina, down in that area and everything too. I don't know that they necessarily thought that everything was going to be as big as it ended up getting, but it just kept growing and growing and growing, and they kept it. They've kept it for 14, 15 years now in that Augusta area, and they've even the park, Riverview Park that it's in, the Peach Jam continues to grow with it. So they went from like 4 courts to 6 courts to 8 courts, and all that too. So it's it's a big part. Obviously, they have the Masters, and then followed up Peach Jam. It's 2 big parts for that area.
Yeah, Masters, I've heard about that. That's okay. That's like if you're into pimento cheese sandwiches, I guess it's all right.
Yes, and kidding. I am.
Just kidding. Man, there is Indiana, Darren DeVries and his crew, once they got through putting together their roster, which everything was on like triple time because he was putting together a staff at the same time of putting together his roster probably not quite as strong as a lot of people would have hoped in the first season, but not probably far off either, because I truthfully don't know how good they're going to be. They could surprise a lot of people in this day and age, because they're obviously not going to play this is not going to be Purdue basketball that we're going to watch. Right. It's going to be a different style. But going next year, going forward, they're on it. I mean, I can't even keep up with the offers. I couldn't, if I had to spend my day reading the stories just in the Hoosier.com, it would probably take up my whole day, because there are so many stories in there about every single recruit, about every single offer, not just on basketball, but football as well. But there have been a ton on the basketball side. They have left no stone unturned. They are going after the big guys, but the difference between now and, say, previous staff who would make these offers, all of these big-time offers, those to me were just paper offers. These are actually offers that are extended through developing a relationship first, talking to these kids first, to understanding them, to knowing how they can fit into your program, and explaining to them, more importantly, how they will fit into your program, and vice versa, how everything will work. But man, I don't even know how many offers are out. I have to count them, but it's a lot.
Well, one thing that DeVries did when putting the staff together was he brought in at least 2 guys that have incredibly strong ties to geographical regions, and 3 really, with Drew Adams in Indiana Elite, and all that stuff too. But Rod Clark in the Midwest and Kenny Johnson in the DMV area are both very well-connected guys that have massive relationships. And I think you're seeing that with Rod Clark getting in on guys very quickly. and getting visits out of them and getting things set up out of the Midwest area, guys like Ethan Taylor and stuff like that. But then also you have Kenny Johnson in the DMV area getting in play, guys like Jordan Smith, Prince Alexander Moody, guys like that, very quickly and getting Indiana in there with that. So to your point, this is a relationship building situation, and he's bringing in guys understanding. He's bringing in a staff understanding that has deep ties, that has relationship type situations with these players already in place. And you're seeing the fruits of that very quickly. Rod and Kenny have both immediately gotten on staff, and they're both immediately getting guys on campus as well. And as you know, in the recruiting world, getting a guy on campus can go a long way.
Well, speaking of Prince Alexander Moody, he is one that is visiting Indiana later this week and is someone that Indiana is putting effort into, a 6'5" shooting guard from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And that would be a get in and of itself, getting a kid out of Kentucky, because Indiana doesn't recruit a lot of kids out of Kentucky in football or basketball, but they've gotten one in football here recently. I know that. And Prince Alexander Moody is one that they have their eyes on. And as of right now, he's favored 54% to Indiana. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Georgetown, it looks like 32%. So no Louisville, no Kentucky up in that.
Yeah, so he actually goes to school in the DMV area, Prince Alexander Moody. And as you noticed,
you know what? I was reading Jaden Johnson. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. And Georgetown and Indiana are Kenny Johnson's last couple schools. So Georgetown he came from to Indiana. So the relationship is deep there with Prince Alexander Moody. And as you said, he's a 6'5" guard. He kind of fills in a lot of the blanks. He's kind of a connecting piece, a guy that can play a little bit on the ball, but you want him off the ball as well. He elevates the floor of a team. He can defend multiple positions with his length and tenacity. And he's just a really good piece that you can do a lot of different things around depending on the direction you want to take the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, and he plays for a powerhouse in Team Takeover in the AAU program. So they're playing against high-level talent with high-level talent. And that makes all the difference in the world. I watched, Indiana last summer, Indiana Elite, when you had Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley, Mark Zachary. They had Malachi Moreno. They had Desmond Briscoe. I mean, gee whiz. And when you're playing with and against that talent all summer long, that gives you a taste of what you're going to be facing.
Yeah, 100%. And Prince Alexander, he's done that ever since he was younger. The ties, again, that Kenny Johnson has to the Team Takeover program as well. But, yeah, he's a connecting piece. He's the guy that you can fit into multiple situations and just kind of figure out that he's going to get some stuff done.
Yeah, and Indiana's staff has been they've seen him play. They have put the time in on him. He knows that he is an important part of what they would like to see happen. And the difference that I see between, say, this staff and previous two staffs, they're going to land some of these guys. These are not just paper offers, as I call them, going out that they're just in the mail, basically. These are legit. Hey, we want you. We need you. Here's how we would like to use you. Here's how we see you. And this is going to happen. And you mentioned two of the most crucial parts, Rod Clark, Kenny Johnson. Not about Drew Adams or Nick Norton or any of those other guys. They are more just on this type of recruit here. They're in it. But, boy, that's another thing about this staff. Everybody has a great piece of which they do very well at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a well put, just like kind of the teams and the rosters and stuff. You got to put a staff together, one that can pull multiple different directions, pull multiple different strings within the organization, but also that works well together and has good chemistry and trust. This staff, they have guys that can go get players. They have guys that can coach players up and develop players. And it's a staff that, DeVries feels very comfortable with rolling out there to compete long-term in the conference.
Yeah, Illinois, Maryland, Michigan State, Providence, Virginia Tech, some of the other programs, as you can see, he's wanted by the Big Ten. I'm surprised there's not more East Coast going after this kid, but hey,
Yeah, no. So sometimes a player's skill set just fits into a specific league, things kind of take off. It depends on who sees you win and when the live periods fall and how well you play and all that type of stuff. But sometimes a guy's skill set, 6'5" connecting piece, just fits within the league more so than it does elsewhere.
And another thing that has surprised me in this day and age, it doesn't seem like grassroots recruiting is nearly as important as it used to be. But right now, I look at what they're doing, and in the Indiana staff, they're treating this like this was 10 years ago. They're recruiting these guys that are of very high target values and trying to get them in, although I can't see more than 2 or 3 in a class coming in anymore, personally, for growth of a roster. But, man, they are really hitting the recruiting trail.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing. Like you said, 1, 2, 3 high school recruits at the most. Some are casting a small line and just really targeting players. Some are casting bigger, more robust nets out there. But Indiana seems to be one that is set on building their roster through the recruiting, high school recruiting, developing players, and then going to the transfer portal to kind of patchwork different areas in there. It's always good. Obviously, a college wants to have, talking with a lot of coaches, they want to have guys for multiple years on their roster, guys that they can rely on to build their program how they want it. Obviously, coming into a new program, a new culture, year 1 can be a little tough. Year 2, it gets a little easier. 3, 4, all that stuff. It sounds like a lot of college coaches that I'm talking to at least want to have guys for multiple years in there. Going into a high school type of recruitment, one, the NIL valuation of the player is is less because they don't have a proven track record yet. And then also, too, you get to develop them. It's almost like a ball of clay that you can mold how you kind of want to within the organization as well. The earlier you get in on a player, the earlier you get them into the organization. So it sounds like from the coaches, again, like you said, 1, 2, possibly 3 high school kids, every single class they're going to target. With the 2026 class being down a little bit, guys are being a little bit more pointed with their recruitment. But they still, nevertheless, most of them that I'm talking to, Indiana as well, 2 or so is kind of the magic number of the high school class. If they have 3, they really like that as well.
And part of something else, too, is Indiana needs to flip the narrative of being, quote unquote, the king of recruiting Indiana. That used to be the case. Purdue took that over with all of the inconsistency that Indiana's had in the last 2.5 decades and the success that Purdue has had. They have become the state team landing the in-state players. And as a matter of fact, the entire crew that they have right now, the core, Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Wren, Indiana kids, they've been, this is probably the last college team you will see with 3 starters that played all 4 years in the same school, a major school like that. But is it going to be enough? We'll see. There are other guys that are on the recruiting board right now, one of which is a hard uphill climb for Indiana, but Darren DeVries is going after him, and that's Jason Gardner Jr. Obviously the son of Jason Gardner, who is an assistant at Arizona, an Indiana guy, but played out there. And I think it's just going to be almost impossible to get him away from there. But Darren DeVries is doing everything he can. They had the team camps last weekend, and Darren DeVries was standing under the basket every game that Jason Gardner played. He was right there leaning under the basket so he could always see him.
Jason Gardner Jr. is obviously playing his high school ball in Indiana. He's building relationships in Indiana, and he's living his life in Indiana right now. This is a target that, like you said, might be an uphill climb. All directions.
But he doesn't even have an Arizona offer, from what I'm reading.
Yeah, all of the directions probably point away from Indiana. However, it's one that you need to fight if you are Indiana. He's one of the top players in the country. He's one of the top players at a position of need in the country, at the point guard spot. And he's one of the best players in your own state of Indiana. So while outside perception might be uphill climb, outside looking in and all that. It's a fight that you're going to want to fight for a top in-state guy like Jason Gardner. So he's just a really good player. He's a really, really good player. He's averaging over 20 points per game so far for the Indiana Elite program on the Adidas 16 circuit. Obviously, the success he's had at Fishers High School.
Dude,
and all that.
let me tell you, I saw them play. They are going to be 10 years, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to look back and they're going to be so pissed that they lost that state championship game in overtime last summer to Jeffersonville, because boy, they may be the favorite to win it again.
Yeah, they're good. They got two good guards. They're really well coached. They're deliberate in what they do. But they also have
size now.
Yeah, both those guards are guys that are able to go get a bucket. They're able to things break down, they can both go get done. Like you said, a little bit of size. They're just a really good team, and they're really well coached. But back to DeVries in Indiana, it's that's a recruiting battle that you want to put yourself into and you want to put resources to. Because if you can pull away with that, getting the top player in the state, who's a top 20, 25 kid overall, who's one of the top point guards in the class, with the type of lineage legacy that he is, that would be a huge, massive pull, for the program.
Yeah, and then looking toward the future, although it's 2028, got another kid from New Albany High School coming up named Noah Washington. He's a 6'6" guard, and you started hearing about him as a freshman, and boy, now I'm waiting for the comparisons to Romeo Langford. I haven't seen or heard that yet. I guess for one thing, they're different type of players, but sounds a lot of similarities to me.
Well, you're starting here. This is it right now. But Indiana's always good to have 2, 3, 4 guys that are big time. It's just like you said previously, those guys went elsewhere. Those guys looked either out of state or to different programs. Now it seems that this staff has been able to identify the top level talent early, that the state of Indiana is having top level talent. The staff is identifying the top level talent, and they're putting the resources toward making these guys let it be known that they want them to stay in state. And that's massive. Obviously, as with any recruiting, you want to put the fence around your borders. Like you want to keep everybody within your state, in your toward your campus, and that seems to be something that this staff is taking to heart. Like they want to win Indiana, and Indiana has talent every single cycle, and they're letting it be known very early that that's a major goal of this program.
Yeah, and they're fortunate to have someone like Drew Adams, who went to high school in Bloomington, at Bloomington South. He was actually a part of Tom Crean's staff, I believe, back in the day. So more familiarity there. But at the end of the day, it's basketball, and fans want to win, players want to win and be developed. And that's something I see on the football side in Indiana already. In the second year under Kurt Signetti, they are identifying talent early, sophomore, junior, and they're getting them in, and they're inviting them to camps and establishing those relationships. And that is so important. And that was missing for Indiana for the last 8 years, at least. Relationships. It just wasn't happening for the most part, except for like Brian Walsh, I think, did a good job. He's over at Ohio State now of trying to establish relationships. But you can only do so much when you're like the middle guy and you're trying to establish a relationship, but the top end is not coming together. But you have all of that now. It's like everybody seems to be working in concert.
Yeah, and just like we talked about Kenny Johnson in the DMV, just like we talked about Rod Clark in the Midwest, Drew Adams in Indiana, he's a door opener. He's a guy that when he calls a coach, they'll take the phone call. And it's all, there are other things now. It's not 10 years ago where the relationship will get you a player and all that type of stuff, but a relationship will get you in the door and get you all the information necessary in order to be in position to land a player. And Drew Adams' relationships in Indiana will get Indiana in the door. Obviously, the flagship university of the state, the head coach is a big deal. throughout the state and all that stuff. Indiana, Darren DeVries, but the relationships that Drew Adam brings within the state of Indiana and that kind of area, are significant as well.
Let's talk about the Big Ten because, boy, lots of change. I have an idea of some teams, other teams. I'm like, forget it. I know nothing. I'm like Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing. I don't know what UCLA is going to be like. I know they have Xavier Booker, who transferred from Michigan State to UCLA. Illinois, I know they've got 5 Eastern European players, but they're probably going to be pretty damn troublesome because that's what Brad Underwood does. We know what Purdue is. They're everybody's favorite except for mine. I think Michigan is the favorite. They're my favorite personally. I think that they have added just the right pieces. Dusty May he got that year under his belt, which didn't take much because he was already competing for a title. And boy, they're hit the ground running. Indiana, man, I think that they're going to be a thorn in some people's side. I think they're going to play hard. I think they're going to finish in the upper half of the Big Ten, but the lower half of the upper half, if that makes sense. But Michigan State, very quiet. I don't know what Michigan State's got going on. Maryland, I think that they've lost a ton. They're probably going to be on a downward slide, losing the coach, losing players. What is the Big Ten looking like in your estimation?
I think the Big Ten has so the Big Ten last year was really good. They were deep and they had really good players, but I don't think they necessarily had the team that was going to press for a national title. I think this year they have multiple teams. While they're still very good at the top, the bottom is not even the bottom's strong. The depth of the talent goes all the way down. Like you said, a team like an Indiana could be a thorn in some of the top level team sides because they're good. But then you also look at the top, the Purdue's and Michigans of the world, like you said. I think those are 2 teams that going into the season, you can look at them as pushing for a national championship. Now, obviously, in winning a national championship, a lot has to go right. You have to stay healthy. It all comes to matchups in the tournament and all that type of stuff too. But I think that now the Big Ten, while there's still that depth of talent, while there's still a lot of great coaching in there, I think these teams have really good players. Obviously, just like you said, some of these teams got better through the portal. I think that they have guys, they have teams that can legitimately push for a national title this season. And the Big Ten is going to be one of the best leagues, if not possibly the top league in the country.
Really? It's going to be, boy, the SEC, they, what did they get, like 26 teams in out of their league last year?
The SEC is going to be good too, but then you look at the top teams that they had, how much Florida lost losing all 3 of those guards. They returned the front court, but they lost all 3 of those guards, which were so good. You look at the Auburns who had to replace so much, and Alabama had to replace so much, and Tennessee has to replace so much. Obviously, everybody across the country has to replace a lot, but those SEC schools really had to kind of revamp their entire roster. Now, they replaced it with talent, so we'll see how that happens. And there's going to be depth. The bottom of the league and the SEC got better as well. The LSUs are going to be better than they were last year. South Carolina's are going to be better than they were last year. But the Big Ten got stronger up top as well. I think those are 2 leagues. They're going to see a lot of success this season.
Well, we'll certainly find out. Who are some of the surprise team in the Big Ten, maybe?
Let me think.
I guess you could probably pick 1 out of 10 because we don't know who's going to be the surprise team.
So it's kind of the teams had a lot of success last year, and it'll be interesting to see how kind of they develop. I think UCLA is a team that could be improved over last year. You look at the success that Michigan State had last year, and then you wonder how they can recreate it. But then you have Tom Izzo on the sidelines. But I don't know if necessarily Michigan State would be considered a surprise because everybody just expects Tom Izzo to do well. So I just sitting here trying to think through it. The Big Ten, I think, is just going to be strong, and I don't know if it's going to necessarily be a surprise. I think personally, from talking to Indiana fans and everything, that I think the Indiana team is going to be better possibly than people think. But it's also such a strong league. You know, a good team can be 500 in the Big Ten this year. So, you know, I think it'll be a lot of bloodbaths. I think January, February come the Big Ten is going to be just really fun because there's not going to be many weaknesses, I don't feel like. And there's going to be a lot of really good basketball played.
And we'll certainly find out who that is, because this is the season. The Big Ten kind of they've got to start stepping up. They've got to get a team to the Final Four. You know, they've made their runs and come back in football, winning the last 2 national championships, getting Indiana into the college football playoffs. Now the Big Ten needs to swing it around on the basketball side. They just haven't had, like, Purdue has been kind of the best team in the Big Ten, but yet to me, they never had a chance to win a national championship. They did not have the NBA draft picks, which to me, to win a national championship, and it's proven, if you go back and look, you have to have NBA draft picks on your roster. And while they had Zach Edey, if I've asked this question, if Purdue, let's say they go to the Elite Eight this year, good run these last 4 years or whatever, and let's say Braden Smith ends up being the college player of the year. If you had the college player of the year 3 out of 4 years, but yet you still don't have a banner to hang for it, is that what's the word I'm looking for? Underachieving?
I think there takes so much luck in the college basketball landscape to win a championship. You have to have so many things break your way, where that's why we have Cinderella runs within the tournament. That's why we have number 1 seeds that don't win, you know, they get knocked out early and all that type of stuff. I think you have to have so much luck. You have to have good matchups, and you have to have everything kind of go in your way in order to win a championship. I don't think anybody having national players of the year, I don't think making Final Fours and NCAA tournament runs, in my opinion, yes, it's super nice to hang banners. It's great to win championships. But having sustainable success at the top, I think, is an achievement in its own right as well. To year after year after year be considered one of the top teams, year after year after year, win a lot of games year after year after year, make it to Elite Eights and Final Fours. I think there's a lot of success to be said in that as well.
So they became the Kentucky of the Big Ten. Bam! Oh, hello, John Calipari. Top recruiting class 11 out of 12 years and 1 national title to show for it. That's underachieving to me personally. But so what's up next for you, man? Where are you going? As you know, this recruiting summer can't last forever because they run out of time, and they only have so much time to get out and see these guys and have them on campus.
So this coming weekend is going to be a live period event. It's going to be the last live period where each state, each region kind of has their own little live period. I'll be up in the DMV area. So I'll be checking out schools in Virginia, DMV. After that is going to come championship. So we're going to have another AAU live period when it comes to each of the circuits. The major circuits are going to have their championships. So Under Armour, Adidas, Nike, Puma are all going to have their championships as well through 2 live periods coming up in July. And then AAU kind of slows down and we get ramped back up toward the season coming up in August, September, which will be a lot of official visits, not transfer portal, but official visits and commitment tracking going through that time frame as well. So I think these next couple of weeks, we're going to see schools you're going to see recruiting boards take shape. Right now, we're still seeing a wide net cast. I think we're going to start seeing kind of each program, their recruiting boards narrow down a little bit and seeing which players they're really going after and targeting and who they're trying to get on campus and what it's going to kind of take shape with the recruiting class this cycle look like. And then go from there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, like you said, we wrap up with the Peach Jam and all of the different championships that are coming up here over the month of July. August, Indiana heads to Puerto Rico.
Or I'm sure rivals. I'm sure that On3 is sending you to Puerto Rico, right?
I mean, you're going to be down there, aren't you?
Of course. I was hoping you're going to come join me to do the show.
Any warm weather area is a positive.
You got that right, man. But I don't know if that's going to be warm or just hot.
Yeah, it's pretty sticky down south right now. I couldn't imagine even going further south and seeing what it feels like. So, but yeah, no, that'll be fun. Anytime you can get together and play as a group as much as possible, that's going to be good. But I think back to the recruiting side of things, this class took a little bit longer to shape up. I think the transfer portal took a lot out of people and kind of set back a few months the 2026 recruiting cycle. So I think coming the months of end of July, August, September, we're really going to see things move quick. And we're going to see boards shape up. We're going to see targets really gone after. And I think we're going to see things move pretty quickly after this next, after the middle of July ends with Peach Jam and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it will be fun to see those games in Puerto Rico because it will give us an indication of because the Serbian team and all that, they're going to have height. They're going to have length. They're going to have all of the things to challenge this Indiana team. So we'll see how they can deal with that.
Well, you'll get an idea as to, I mean, you'll be able to see the personnel on the floor. This is the first time this group's played together. So, well, in a public manner, you'll be able to see, get a size of the players. You'll be able to get a feel for the rotations. You'll be able to get a feel for the style of play. Kind of expectations. Now, obviously things are going to change and stuff. I'm sure that there's going to be what it looks like in August will not be what it looks like in February. But you can kind of get an idea as to where the staff thinks these players are, the rotations, what the starting lineups might look like, and kind of what these players bring, and how DeVries is going to want to play. I mean, will he play 5 out? Will he play 5 around 1? Will he go a more traditional lineup? Will they be fast? Will they be slow and more methodical? So year one with an entirely new roster, August can be kind of exciting for the fans to kind of pay attention to and analysis to be given. And, you can take a little bit away from that as well. So Puerto Rico should be a fun time for Indiana fans just to kind of get a glimpse and to see kind of what this looks like. Now we've read all the articles. We've seen all the interviews. Now it's time to get on the floor and tip it up and see what it looks like.
Absolutely, my friend. I appreciate you as always. I look forward to doing this again here in a few weeks as we will be more into this. We'll be actually probably when does the Peach Jam start?
So it'll start, I believe. So they're backing it up back to back with 2 separate events. So they're going to have Nike's going to have their session 4, and then it's going to immediately start Peach Jam. So it's going to be like a 20-day straight period. But I think Peach Jam actually starts maybe the 13th or 14th. So I think the 8th or 9th, they'll start there. But I think the actual 13th or 14th will be the first day of Peach Jam and go through
basically
the 20th
the entire month of July is what we're looking at.
The middle parts, yeah. So it'll probably go from about the 8th to maybe the 22nd or so.
And that's not all. That's just for the Nike side of things. Then you have the Adidas side.
Yeah, you have Adidas, you have Under Armour, and you have Puma as well. So those will be run the 9th through the 13th, I believe. The other 3. Nike just has 2 back-to-back sessions when it comes to session 4 all the way to Peach Jam. And
when
the Peach
did
Jam
Puma get into the basketball side of things, man? We're not boxing. How did he get? I mean, that's just too much. It seems like 4 is too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
All right, brother. Well, can I thank you enough as always? Look forward to seeing you out on the trail.
Yep, we got big things coming here on 3. Obviously, with the Rivals mergers coming July 1 and everything too. So continue to stay tuned. Continue to subscribe to the Hoosier. They do the best job covering Indiana basketball and stuff. There's big things coming for the network and everything too. So make sure that you subscribe, check in, keep tuning in, and go to the message boards, man. And we want to hear your opinions as well. We want to hear your questions as well and interact too. So go to the message boards. Let's get that thing rocking.
Absolutely. Jamie Shaw, basketball analyst,
recruiting basketball analyst for On3.com. Appreciate you, my friend.
Jim, thank you.
Thank you, brother. Always love having Jamie on, and look forward to doing that again. More coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us today, as always. Greatly appreciate you, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Big Ten, and Fox Networks. And we just finished up with Jamie Shaw, On3 National Basketball Recruiting Analyst, as there will be plenty to talk about going forward in the next few months as the recruiting continues. Peach Jam coming up, the 3 stripes for Adidas, Under Armour, Puma. I didn't realize there was a 4th now. Holy smokes, that's a lot of stuff to get to. But we're back tomorrow to do this all again, our regular Wednesday lineup. See what we can add to that. Hope you go out, have yourselves a great day. Stay cool, man. Stay inside if at all possible. Thank you so much for being with us. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.